Look at Chioma. She looks incredible.
Yes, but did you hear where she got that dress?
Every man is staring.
In a prosperous village where the marketplace buzzed with trade and laughter echoed through the compounds, there lived a young woman whose beauty was spoken of in whispers and songs. Her name was Chioma, and she was, without question, the most stunning woman anyone had ever seen. Her skin glowed like polished bronze, her eyes sparkled with intelligence, and her figure turned every head when she walked through the market. But beneath that breathtaking exterior lived a heart as cold and calculating as a serpent waiting to strike. Chioma had not always been this way. Years ago, she had been a poor village girl who knew true love, or so she thought. She had given her heart completely to a wealthy merchant's son, believing his promises of forever. But when a richer family offered their daughter, he abandoned Chioma without a second glance, leaving her heartbroken and humiliated. That day, something inside her twisted and hardened. If love is nothing but a game of wealth and lies, she vowed bitterly, then I will be the only player who never loses. From that moment, Chioma transformed herself into a love scammer. She used her beauty not to find love, but to destroy it in others. Her method was precise and merciless. She would hear of a man with wealth, a successful trader, a prosperous farmer, a man of influence, and she would study him like a hunter studies prey. Then, she would orchestrate a chance meeting, her smile perfectly calculated, her words sweetly poisoned with false affection. Her first victim was Dubem, a young bachelor who had just inherited his father's thriving palm oil business. Chioma appeared at the market, seemingly by accident, and dropped her basket near his store. As he helped her gather the scattered items, their eyes met, and she let a blush color her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice soft as silk. "You're very kind." Within weeks, Dubem was convinced he had found his soulmate. Chioma spoke of destiny, of dreams where they grew old together, of the children they would raise. Blinded by her beauty and intoxicated by her words, Dubem gave her access to his business accounts, bought her expensive gifts, and proudly introduced her to his family as his future wife. Then, one morning, she was gone. His accounts were empty. His business partners had been paid with fake documents she had forged. Dubem was left with nothing but debt and shame, and Chioma had moved on to her next target, her purse heavier and her heart no softer. But Chioma's appetite grew with each success. Bachelors were too easy, she decided. The real wealth, the real power, lay with established men, men with businesses, properties, and yes, even wives. She felt no guilt about destroying marriages. In fact, she relished it. If their love was real, I couldn't break it, she would say with a cruel smile. I'm simply revealing the truth of what men really are. Mama Adaora, the village's eldest and wisest woman, watched Chioma's pattern with growing concern. One day, she stopped Chioma in the market, her aged hand gentle but firm on the younger woman's arm. "Child," she said, her eyes filled with sorrow, "I see what you're doing. I understand your pain, but this path you walk leads only to darkness. Beauty fades like the morning dew, but the seeds you plant will grow forever. Plant thorns, and thorns will be your only harvest." Chioma pulled her arm away, laughing dismissively. "My beauty will never fade, old woman. It's my power, and I know exactly how to use it. Your warnings mean nothing to me." Chioma's second major victim was Chukwudi, a married cloth trader with a wife and 2 young sons. She met him at a festival, commenting on the quality of his fabrics, praising his business acumen. Slowly, deliberately, she wove her web. She sent him messages speaking of loneliness, of how rare it was to meet a man of true substance. Chukwudi, whose marriage had grown comfortable but perhaps not exciting, found himself drawn to this beautiful woman who seemed to see something special in him. Chioma promised him passion, adventure, a new beginning. "Leave your wife," she whispered during their secret meetings. "She doesn't appreciate you the way I do. We could build an empire together." Chukwudi's wife, Ineka, discovered the affair and confronted Chioma in the marketplace, tears streaming down her face, her children clinging to her wrapper. "Please," Ineka begged, "we have children. He's a good man who's made a mistake. Please leave my family alone." Chioma looked at her with eyes as cold as stone. "If your husband truly loved you, he wouldn't be with me. I'm not forcing him. He chose me." Perhaps you should ask yourself why. Neka left broken, and within a month, Chukwudi had divorced her. He gave Chioma control of his business accounts, believing her promises of partnership and love. 3 months later, Chioma disappeared with everything, leaving Chukwudi bankrupt and alone, his children refusing to speak to him, his ex-wife struggling to feed their sons. But Chioma felt nothing. She had what she wanted. The village began to whisper. Divorced wives would gather, sharing their stories of the beautiful deceiver who had destroyed their homes. Some came to threaten Chioma, but she would simply smile and repeat her cruel philosophy. "Your husband made his choice. Blame him, not me." The women would leave, powerless against her beauty and their husband's foolishness. Then Chioma set her sights on her greatest prize yet, Okonkwo, the wealthiest man in the entire region. Okonkwo had everything a successful trading company, properties in multiple villages, and most importantly, a beautiful marriage to his wife, Ngozi, with whom he had 3 bright, happy children. Their love was known throughout the land, a model of partnership and devotion. To Chioma, this made him the ultimate challenge. She planned meticulously. She discovered that Okonkwo's cousin lived near her compound and orchestrated an introduction, presenting herself as a respectable woman seeking business advice. She was patient, playing the role of a humble admirer of his success. She attended the same festivals, always positioned where he would notice her. She sent thoughtful gifts to his business, small tokens of respect that slowly became personal. And then, when the foundation was laid, she began to speak of fate, of how some souls are meant to find each other, even when the world says otherwise. Okonkwo, despite his love for Ngozi, despite his beautiful children, despite everything he knew to be right, found himself drawn into Chioma's trap. She was different from other women, he told himself. She understood him in ways even Ngozi didn't. Chioma fed this delusion with expert precision, validating every frustration, praising every decision, making him feel like a king in her presence. Ngozi noticed the change in her husband. She watched as he grew distant, as he walked late more often, as his eyes stopped lighting up when he saw her. When she discovered the truth, her world shattered. She confronted Chioma with her 3 children beside her, hoping the sight of innocent faces might awaken some compassion. "Look at them," Ngozi said, her voice breaking. "Look at what you're destroying. These children adore their father. We have built a life together. Please, I'm begging you, walk away." Chioma looked at the children, at their confused, frightened faces, at Ngozi's tears, and felt absolutely nothing. "He chose me, Ngozi. Your fairy tale is over. I'm his future now, and you're just a memory he's ready to forget." The divorce was brutal. Okonkwo, completely under Chioma's spell, gave her access to his businesses. She made herself indispensable, learning every detail of his operations. And then, when the time was right, when she had extracted every bit of wealth she could, she vanished like smoke, leaving Okonkwo ruined, his children heartbroken, his reputation destroyed, and his business in shambles. Ngozi, despite her own suffering, came to find Chioma one final time. She stood before the beautiful deceiver, dignity radiating from her despite her pain. "You think you've won," Ngozi said quietly, "but you've collected nothing but emptiness. Every coin you've stolen is a weight on your soul. Every heart you've broken is a mirror showing who you really are. I pray that one day the world sees you as clearly as I do now. May your outside finally match your inside." That night, Mama Adaora appeared at Chioma's door, her ancient eyes sad but firm. "Last chance, child," the elder said. "Return what you've taken. Ask for forgiveness. Choose a different path before it's too late." Chioma stood in her mansion, surrounded by stolen wealth, her beauty reflected in a dozen mirrors, and laughed. "This is who I am, old woman. This is what I deserve. I will never apologize for being smarter than foolish men and their weak wives." The next morning, Chioma woke and walked to her mirror as she did every day. But something was different. Her reflection showed a subtle change, so slight she thought she imagined it. A small blemish on her perfect skin, a barely noticeable dullness in her lustrous hair. She dismissed it, but the next day, the changes were undeniable. Her skin began to lose its glow. Her hair lost its shine, and then the transformation accelerated in ways that terrified her. Within weeks, Chioma's legendary beauty had vanished completely. Her face, once the standard of perfection, became plain, then homely, then truly unattractive. Her figure, once envied by every woman, became heavy and ungainly. She looked in the mirror and saw a stranger, someone whose outside finally reflected the ugliness that had always lived within. She tried everything: expensive treatments, traditional healers, desperate prayers to gods she had ignored her entire adult life. Nothing worked. The transformation was complete and irreversible. The men who had once pursued her now crossed the streets to avoid her. The wealth she had accumulated remained, but it brought no comfort. She tried to use her money to attract companionship, but people saw through it. They remembered what she had done, and now, without her beauty to blind them, they saw her clearly for the first time. Years passed, and Chioma lived alone in her large, empty house, surrounded by luxury but drowning in isolation. She would watch as Okonkwo, through years of hard work and genuine remorse, slowly reconciled with Ngozi. Their marriage would never be what it was, the scars too deep, but they found a way forward for their children's sake. She watched as other victims of her schemes rebuilt their lives, wiser and more careful, moving forward while she remained frozen in consequence. One day, very late in Chioma's life, Mama Adaora, now incredibly old and working with great difficulty, came to visit. Chioma, aged and alone, asked the question that had haunted her for decades. "Can I ever be beautiful again?" The old woman's eyes were kind but honest. "Your beauty is gone, child, because it was only ever skin deep. True beauty comes from a beautiful heart, and you chose to make yours ugly. You had chances, so many chances, to choose differently." Chioma's voice was a whisper. "Is it too late? For everything?" Mama Adaora sighed. "For your face? Yes. For your soul? That is between you and the Creator. But the hearts you broke, the families you destroyed, the children who grew up without fathers, because of your lies, those consequences remain forever. Some choices cannot be undone. Chioma lived out her remaining years in that mansion, wealthy but miserable, her beauty gone, her heart still cold, and her life a cautionary tale told to young women throughout the village. The story of the woman who was so beautiful that men would abandon their families for one smile, but who discovered too late that beauty without character is a curse, not a gift. She had collected hearts like trophies but died with none of her own. She had gathered wealth but lost everything of value. And so the elders teach, external beauty fades like flowers in the dry season, but the beauty of character blooms forever. Those who use their gifts to destroy will find those same gifts destroyed. For what does it profit to gain the whole world but lose your own soul? The face in the mirror may lie for a season, but eventually the outside reveals what has always lived inside. Chioma's story ends not with redemption, but with regret, not with forgiveness, but with the heavy weight of consequences that can never be escaped. For in the end, the most beautiful face cannot hide an ugly heart forever, and the price of deception is paid in the currency of a wasted life, alone and unloved, surrounded by stolen treasures that can never fill the emptiness within.